I have never ceased to be amazed that at each election people can turn up, put their deposits down and try their luck. When a man puts down $1,500 to go down to Tanjong Pagar, I ask myself now, what did he think I've been doing all these years? And it's not just for Tanjong Pagar. It's not just new buildings, new jobs. It's the mechanics of getting people to follow your policies step by step and to be with you, to adjust your policies so that you cause the minimum of upsets. Modify, modulate to lessen the discomfort of resettlement. Give him more compensation, more solace, to let him restart life anew because new buildings have to go up where he used to stay. And it's the grassroots organization. You know, words. The opposition says, yes, they are grassroots too. But words convey a whole wealth of meaning, which unless you've been through it, unless you've seen it, does not have that resonance, does not conjure up in your mind the real significance of what you mean by grassroots. I don't have to go down to Craig Road or Duxton Road in my constituency every month, every week. I go there maybe once a year because I've been there 25 years. And I've seen their successful children leave. And I meet them when I visit the new towns. In Kim Seng, in Ang Mo Kio, they were little children when I was campaigning in Craig Road. And this has been happening throughout Singapore. And we've buttoned up the ground, and I make no apologies for it. Wherever you meet us, as an opposition party, you are meeting an organized and an established outfit. We know who stays where, who they are, whether they are for, whether they are against us, whether they can be converted, persuaded, or whether it's a waste of time talking to them. It doesn't really matter whether the election is 9 days or 19 days. The process of making up their minds had gone on every day since the last elections. Having such a quiet election means we win. That's why it becomes even quieter. And if I were the opposition, let me give the first thing I would do is to make sure that the election is not a foregone conclusion. At least field 57, 58, not 38. Make some effort. Lose a few deposits, doesn't matter. But you throw the election issue into doubt. But there's no doubts about this. On nomination day, they conceded that they couldn't find the candidates to take us on. It's as simple as that. Don't believe they haven't tried. Each one of them has tried. Dr. Lee Siu Cho, he never ceases to try. Don't believe Mr. Chiam hasn't tried. He's been running around trying to get candidates. He couldn't. The great issues that used to excite the population, race, language, religion and culture, they have been diffused. They have been muted. They are latent. They are dormant. They are not dead. And as an old campaigner, Dr. Lee knows that. He doesn't cease to try. He tries. Whether it's English language and Mandarin, Mandarin versus dialect, he keeps on trying. There are great issues that used to agitate people, because language means yourself, your personality. It also means your job, a living. And to have brought Singapore around to make a living without natural resources was a most delicate, a most intricate political trial and test of navigational skills, so that eventually we got everybody by free choice to accept, yes, we accept English as the working language, and please, I want to keep my mother tongue for my sense of identity. That's a major triumph. Possible only because we are a people with common sense. What does life depend on? A consensus, a social compact, a social contract between all of us who form one society, that we shall make a joint collective efforts for our common good. And many societies have tried many ways to get the maximum benefit for the maximum number of people. And each has its own variation of certain basic formulas or formulae. And here we have an opposition still parroting these words: the compassionate society, free medical services, cheaper PUB bills, cheaper bus fares. Who pays? Who creates wealth? Look at the buildings around you. Look at the stock market. It's bouncing up. Let me tell you how to bring it down. Have a couple of really good riots, shake political confidence. You got, on the one hand, the open free market system in America. You have, on the other hand, exact opposite, the closed, controlled, command economy of the Soviet Union, communist Russia. The Chinese tried the communist model with their own modifications, and it's failed. And they have admitted that it's failed. And they are trying to pick up the same competitive spirit between workers, between different enterprises, which they notice in Hong Kong. So they have opened a new town on the border with Hong Kong called Sam Chun. And they are inducing Hong Kong entrepreneurs to go and create employment. And Dr. Lee Siew Chow and Mr. Jayaratnam talk as if these things have never happened. They haven't learned. Deng Xiaoping is a great man. He fought a great revolution. He saw the product of that revolution turn sour. He was fortunate to live long enough, and he had the courage to say, no, we change course. Let's learn. Let's stop trying to do everything by ourselves. So they started importing and buying Boeing 707s. So they bought Tridents instead of trying to manufacture their own aircraft. Eventually they will, but it will take 2, maybe 3 generations. That's how we succeeded, because we have open minds, common sense. a lot of analysis, careful weighing of the odds, make a firm decision, monitor it, implement it, modify as it goes wrong. Abandon if it is no good. But often, and I say this more out of relief than out of pride, often, 8 times out of 10, we have been right. We've made mistakes. We put money in UPOC, in Jurong, second-hand machinery. We were young then. We were new in the game. They sold us second-hand machinery. We didn't know. We lost money. We wrote it off. But we learned. Mr. Jayaratnam says, we are obsessed with profits. I said, yes. That's how Singapore survives. We have no profit. Who pays for all this? You make profit into a dirty word and Singapore dies. But believe you me, the fact that this education has gone on for 20 years doesn't mean that a new generation will automatically get that education. You have to transmit that knowledge. Human beings are not like computers. You know, you can take one computer bank, plug the terminals, and all the data from one computer bank can go into another. But human beings start with fresh minds. You get a newborn child, he grows up completely blank. Input from parents, input from friends, input from teachers. But no input is as vivid, as long-lasting as his own experience. And because his experience is one of tranquility, of perpetual progress, from an atap shed to a 2-room flat, to a 4-room flat, to a point block flat, to a 5-room flat, to an HUDC, into the private housing estates. So he believes that that is the natural course of nature. It isn't so. You unscramble this. The confidence, the organization upon which Singapore thrives, and you've had it. You can bring us down as quickly, if not quicker, than Sri Lanka or Jamaica. Don't believe that because you can change governments at election time, you are going to progress. You won't, you know. So when you cast your vote, remember, it's sacred because it's something you can't change until the next 5 years, by which time irreparable harm would have been done. And there's one crucial quality: political judgment and the ability to move a people. You can't move a people to go in the direction which your policies tell you you must go. It will fail. You've got to convince them. And for that, you need a whole multiplicity of instruments. The press, the television, the news conference, your grassroots organizations, your CCCs, your MCs, your residence committee, constant explanation, constant feedback, constant adjustments, reformulation of policies. Now let me tell you what you have done with your money. I take the 3-room flats, 72, 40,000 are owner occupied. By 76, 80,000. By 80, 140,000. from 40 to 80 to 140. 140,000 house owners of 3-room flats. Now let's take the 4 rooms. 2005 in 1972. 76, 20,000. Now 80, 54,000. They have moved up. Let's take 5-room flats. 72 we went for elections, 0. Nobody owned a point block flat. 76, 8,000. Today, 21,000. Let me give you the total of property owning voters by families. Just HDB and JTC, 230,000. I know the executives are complaining because they are getting their HUDC flats slowly. We'll sort that out. 1972, 0. 1976, 250. This year, 2020. Come back here, 1984, 85, we'll have it around 6,000 to 7,000. Color television sets. We went color in 1974. By 1976, we had 54,000 sets. This year, we have 210,000 sets. 210 out of 390 total sets. Licenses to SBC, more than half. Now the future. We'll make it. And we'll need no help from either Dr. Lee or Jayaratnam or Mr. Chiang. They have not helped us do this. You have. I tell you what you have to do. You've got to get this young team. You got to know them, they got to know you, and you got to gel and build on what we have built. All this will just go down. Your property will be worthless. You take away the stability, the regular cleansing, the tip-top servicing, water, lights, sanitation. We are the only city in the world where there's city cleansing, garbage removal every day in 365 days of the year. That's quite an achievement. And we got to keep it that way. Or your green city and clean cities will smell, will stink. How do we make the next stage? And I say it's going to be more difficult. When we started, we had a hungry population. Now it isn't. Second, the next jump is a qualitative transformation. It's no longer just getting jobs. It's training people for highly skilled operations in which you use more technicians, more engineers than skilled workers, and more skilled workers than unskilled workers. So you move up. Everybody moves up from unskilled to semi-skilled, semi-skilled to skilled, skilled to technicians, technicians to supervisors, supervisors to engineers, engineers to managers, managers to directors. Quite an operation. It has to be done in 10, 15 years. That's why the university, the polytechnics, the whole education structure has become critical. The word is simple, it's called productivity. Productivity means the ability to use men and machines in such a cooperative way that you produce more products per man hour of a superior quality than any other person can do, any other group can do. And that means cooperation, not antagonism. And that's what the younger team has to achieve. And after these elections, what I want to do, but which I will not complete, which the younger team must do, is to build up a relationship so that the workers, the supervisors, and the managers and directors are at one. They are looking after each other, they are looking after the company. I'll be too old by the 1990s, even by the late 80s, to want to go down to the factory floor and see for myself and get things right. Reading reports and seeing things for yourselves are two different things, you know. Watching it on TV is better, but it's not the same as seeing a man. I can tell you that when I met the SIA pilots, I didn't meet them on TV, I met them face to face. So 5 feet across the table so they can see me and see whether I'm still vigorous, able to campaign and take them on, whether it's worth taking me on. And I offered them two choices. Either you argue, you stop this intimidation, which is what it was, bringing SIA right down, disrupting services, ruining its reputation, millions of dollars worth of advertisements and sales ruined within a matter of 2 weeks. I gave them a choice. Continue this, and I will, by every means at my disposal, teach you and get the people of Singapore, help me teach you a lesson you won't forget. And I'm prepared to start all over again. Or stop it. Get back to work, restore discipline, then argue your case. Took them 65 minutes. And they decided, okay, it isn't worth the fight. Why? Because they know they'll lose. They know that I'm prepared to ground the airline. They know that I can get the airline going again without them. And let there be no mistakes about this. Whoever governs Singapore must have that iron in him, or give it up. This is not a game of cards. This is your life and mine. I've spent a whole lifetime building this. And as long as I'm in charge, nobody's going to knock it down.